Hey, Motorman here with my tip of the week. I got something a little bit different for you this week. I'm going to give you some tips on how to lessen your chances of getting a citation. Nobody likes to get a ticket. They're very expensive. I know here in Florida a couple of years ago they just quadrupled in price. I think our cheapest ticket here now is like $250. So, and I'm sure it's similar in many other states. So I'm going to go through a list of the do's and don'ts. Now, this doesn't work every time, but it will take your chances of getting a ticket down as low as possible. First thing, once you see the lights and the sirens behind you, you want to pull over as soon as possible in the safest place possible, both for you and for the safety of the officer. What I mean is, don't stop dead in the left lane. I've had people do that. It's stupid. Right away, the officer says, I'm dealing with an idiot, so don't do that. You want to get off the road, and you want to get as far off the shoulder as possible so when the officer walks up to you, he's not standing in traffic. It's common sense, and I know that's not too common these days. But think about that. If you're on your motorcycle, it's going to be much easier for you because you don't have to pull all that far off the road. You want to keep your hands on the wheel where the officer could see them or on the handlebars of the motorcycle. You don't want to be reaching for anything as the officer is pulling you over. You see those lights and sirens, people start grabbing for stuff. I know most of the time they're reaching for the license, the registration. Wait, there's no rush for that. The cop is not, he's working by the hour, but he's got all day long, so you don't have to reach for anything. You want to wait until he walks up to you, keep your hands where he can see you on the steering wheel or the handlebars, and wait till he asks for your license, usually registration and insurance card. And you don't want to cop an attitude. If you do that, the chances of getting the ticket just went way up. I've had a lot of people, and this went on for quite a while. I don't know if maybe they had it on the internet, but as soon as I pulled somebody over, they say, what'd you pull me over for? Well, my answer to that was always so I could write you a ticket, because obviously I couldn't do it while you were still driving. But if you're nice, be respectful, put a smile on your face, the chances of getting a ticket just went way down. I know the copping attitude may make you feel better at the moment, but when you get that ticket and it's $250 or $350, you're going to feel awful. Now, if you got a story to tell the officer, you want to make it quick and simple and tell it before he goes back to his car, because once he goes back to the car and comes back with the ticket, he's not going to erase it. It's a mountain of paperwork to do that. So you want to tell your story as quickly and as simply as possible while he's still standing there with your license, registration, insurance card in his hand. As I said, once again, try to be respectful and polite. You know, I've had training officers that tell us, we usually go through this a couple times a year, and a guy will get up there and say, don't let the person dictate your attitude. If he's got an attitude, just ignore it and do whatever you were going to do when you pulled him over in the first place. That works fine for this guy who hasn't done a traffic stop in 10 years. But if you get an attitude, the chances of getting a ticket, I'm telling you, they're going way up, and the whole point of this is to avoid getting the ticket in the first place. It's been my experience that only about half the people I pulled over, I actually wrote a citation to. And the reason for that is there's no reason to give somebody a ticket every single time. There's no such thing as somebody telling us as a traffic officer that you must write X amount of tickets, a quota system. No, what they want you to do is have one contact with the public per hour. And that contact could be just speaking with them and giving them a written warning. And by the way, a written warning isn't points, it doesn't cost you anything. It may go in the computer for about 6 months, so if you get pulled over again, they'll be able to tell if you got a ticket the last time or what the outcome was if it was just a written warning. But believe me, you're much better off with that warning or even a verbal warning than getting a citation, obviously. Again, common sense, which is not too common. If you get the ticket, this is the worst situation. You wind up getting a ticket, you have to go to court, you want to enter a plea of not guilty. Once you get to court, since most of a traffic court, they are just jammed with people, and they generally don't have an actual judge there presiding over it. They have what's called a magistrate. And a magistrate is simply a defense attorney. They're usually representing the lowest of the low, and they'll believe any story you got to tell them. Now, if you're at court and the bailiff says if you'd like to change your plea to guilty with an explanation, there's really no such charge, but they'll let you do that. He's going to say, you'll get to go up first and tell your story. And maybe if you got a good driving record, the bailiff will say, the judge will let you off or he'll reduce the fine. Well, that's what you want. You could pay an attorney to do the same thing for you, but again, that's just going to cost you a bunch of money. So you change your plea to guilty with an explanation. You get up there, you tell the judge whatever story you want. Again, make it simple. Don't try to come up. A defense, by the way, for getting the ticket doesn't mean, I don't think I was going 70 in a 30. That's not a defense. What you want to do is tell your story as to why you were doing what you did and why you don't believe you deserve a ticket. You can tell them any sob story you want. Maybe it's not a sob story, maybe you really can't afford the ticket. Don't be afraid to tell them that. I've seen these magistrates take a $250 fine down to $10. Or they may send you to driving school, which will keep the points off your license. I've also seen where some people have so many points on their license, if they get this ticket with the points, they're going to lose their license. Well, the judge knows that that's going to put you in the system forever. It's very difficult to get out. So most of the time, he'll take the points off. You may have to pay the fine. He may reduce the fine and give you no points, but it's worth a try. I mean, this is simple stuff. And just because you got the ticket doesn't mean you're actually going to pay that $250 or $500, whatever it may be. But you want to be nice to the officer, because I know I used to take notes about people's attitude, and I would write it on the back of the ticket. So when I showed up in court, I could just read my ticket, and the judge will always say, I'm going to reduce this person's fine. Do you have any objection to that? And I'd look and he'd say, yeah, he was a real jerk. Yeah, I do object to it. Well, then he might hit you with the whole fine. But if I put on there, very cooperative, nice person, the chances of you getting your ticket reduced go way down. And that's about it for that. And keep in mind that, by the way, we still have the special going. This is our Ride Like a Pro Best Combo Package. You get the Ride Like a Pro video. You get the book, Surviving the Mean Streets, Shortcuts to Riding Like a Pro, and Ride Like a Pro and the Tail of the Dragon, and that includes 2 videos. You can get this for $84.90. You spend $25,000 on a bike, you owe it to yourself to spend a few bucks on really learning how to ride that motorcycle. It'll make riding so much safer, and you'll enjoy riding so much more when you actually know what the hell you're doing. Now, if you like this video, please click the thumbs up button, hit the subscribe button. There's a little bell on there. If you click that every time we do one of these tips, you'll be notified immediately. We usually do them once a week, and most of the time they're about riding, but so many people were asking me about how to get out of a ticket. I figured, well, I'll give you my best advice. It doesn't work every time, but it works quite a bit. Remember, half the time, you're not going to, the deputy or the sheriff has no intention of giving you a ticket, just a written warning, but it's going to depend a lot on your attitude. Till next week.